Hello and welcome to your facelift presentation. We have been volunteering and helping pick up the park ever since we moved here years ago.
When Ken first asked us to make a facelift presentation, we were humbled and a little bit intimidated. Past presenters like Jim Reynolds and Mike Lebecki have stood on this stage and shared some of the most mind-blowing adventures I've ever heard. A majority of our time here has been spent helping our talented friends accomplish their own goals.
We feel really fortunate to have played a small part in some of the most ambitious projects in the park and to have been able to work with some really awesome people. The more that we've helped our friends achieve their own goals, the bigger our bag of tricks has become and the more places we can go and explore.
And that is the story we hope to share with you today. How collaboration with friends, the special people here, and the freedom to explore our own potential have allowed us to redefine what is possible for us in the vertical realm.
If we're going to talk about collaboration, the sharing of knowledge and growth, it makes sense to begin with how we got here.
I grew up in Southern California and started taking dance lessons at a very young age. I continued to do that until I was pressured to go to college. I spent 5 years studying mechanical engineering and eventually made the move to Yosemite once I got my degree. When I arrived in Yosemite, I felt like I was a true beginner. I had obtained just enough knowledge on how to safely belay and rappel on my own. I just had such a strong passion for the outdoors, and I just followed my heart and pushed myself to do more and more, mainly because there was an opportunity for me to learn, and I took that opportunity and got involved and made friends and put myself out there. I have experienced a lot of my firsts here in the park, including my first climbing lead. I hopped on my first highline. I began aerial silking after I moved here. I also got on my first Bigwall here in the park. I'm so grateful to have been welcomed into this community of people.
As a child, much of my time was spent in nature, either in the woods behind my house or at the ski resort across the street. With skiing, I was able to challenge myself and learn how to navigate progressively more complex mountain terrain. After graduating high school, I moved to Denali National Park in search of more difficult objectives. And it is here that I found my first trad climbing mentor, Tyler. I was able to appreciate the sense of adventure and exploration that comes with this style of climbing. So I decided it was time to go all in, move to Yosemite, and push my abilities in a new direction.
I was fortunate to find some amazing teachers like Joe Marley and Eric Sloan. These objectively hardcore climbers took the time to teach a total noob like me, and the knowledge that they passed on has allowed me to start to ascend the walls in which I came to climb. It hasn't always been fun and games though, and one event in particular really made me start to question my motivation for doing these harder walls. We were 7 days into an ascent when a natural phenomenon changed the way I will look at the mountains forever.
That was rockfall number 5. Here comes number 6. Look, look, look! Oh, me! Oh, geez.
We witnessed a fatality, had to call in a rescue, and still had 2 days of climbing left at this point. Pitches that we had climbed less than 24 hours ago were now falling off the face, and these rock avalanches would continue for the rest of our climb. The largest happening just after we summited. The best way for me to deal with this traumatic experience was to hop right back on the horse.
So we planned a 14-day ascent at Travel Right about a month after the incident.
I had an amazing time with some great friends, but I definitely felt like that fire was a little bit dimmer. I yearned for that inspiration and to feel in control, and I found it in an unlikely place.
Just as Yosemite draws climbers from all over the world, there's a pretty solid community of highliners here as well. I've been able to find a renewed sense of belonging while sitting on a highline, and it was exactly the kind of activity that could ease me back into longer days and harder projects. The idea of using big wall climbing as a vessel to access powerful and untrodden areas ended up not being a new one. It sent me down the most amazing rabbit hole, and I learned about how a group of vertical dancers broke ground on this concept years ago.
I had once heard the story about these Bandaloop dancers hopping on Elcap tan and climbing up the shield. And each performer not only danced, but led at least one pitch on the route. And that's so inspiring for me.
Okay. I'm gonna stall and I'm gonna go up like this.
Lyra.
Lyra, here goes.
Sardine.
You're holding me, right, brother?
Long line.
Long it.
Go under.
I'm gonna go under again. Here we go.
These artists have been exploring the vertical realm for over 2 decades now, and their projects have received the support of prolific valley climbers and first ascensionists. It's funny to look back at old videos of ourselves.
Nice! That was sick! Yeah, where you're supposed to... Oh!
Without any direction and unprovoked, we found ourselves expressing ourselves very much in the same way. We were just taking a ride on the abundance of energy that happens to hover a few hundred feet above the valley floor.
My first experience silking on the extreme level was in the alcove of El Capitan.
What time is it?
Hammer time.
Hammer time. No, it's gummy time.
The Alcove project is a sort of proof of concept. Turned out to be quite the success. I mean, it proved the concept was rad.
I had hopped on South Seas. About 3 hours had passed, and I made it about halfway up the pitch. It just worked out that where I had stopped was the perfect place to build an anchor for one side of the highline, and so I guess it worked out. I can say that it sort of worked out.
It more than worked out. Priscilla tackled this route as one of her first aid leads and got our team up the difficult pitch to where we needed to be.
That was perfect right over the moon. Oh, that one too. Oh.
As Kaj, Scooter, and Mitch took the lead in rigging the line, I was blown away by the level of expertise and talent that had taken up residence in the valley. These guys were busy setting records, discussing the ethics and intricacies of leave-no-trace rigging, and establishing new techniques to set lines without permanent anchors. For such a short wall, this route has a star-studded and interesting history. It took 3 generations of effort to free the route in its entirety. Dale Bard sent the first pitch, which is now rated 512. Mikey Schaefer then came in and added 2 more on top of that, including the crux pitch. And the route would continue to sit like that until one day Mason Earl showed up and decided he would want to top that. When Connor Lund and John Appleberry first told me about their winter project, I didn't give it much thought. I'm not a free climber, and I'm not really getting hot and bothered over some 513 which never sees any traffic. But the promise of splitter cracks, big roofs, and moderate aid climbing was enough to get both me and Prilla psyched.
Once you start looking at the walls, you'll see that sure, there's a handful of overhung things, but there's so many more that aren't. And so to find that space where it's possible to rig is, you don't always find that too often.
We supported our friends by providing belays and snacks, while also experimenting with our own haul, safety, and rigging systems. What we found while climbing the upper pitches was the perfect incubator to grow our dream of one day starting at the base and dancing our way to the top of Elcap. We really had to ask ourselves,
like, what's stopping us from hauling up a little bit more gear? And besides the effort, I mean, it was doable.
And with that acceptance of total doability, we decided to head to a wall and try some of our new techniques. I've climbed this route a few times, but I've never had a partner that was excited to bring a whole haul bag full of dead weight. We planned for a capsule-style ascent, which would use a ledge halfway up the wall to easily access the summit and the anchors from which Priscilla was going to fly. Since it was our first time trying to use aerial silks while committed to a multi-day wall, we were still figuring out what each of us would consider to be a successful mission. Knowing Priscilla brought herself up here to perform her art really added to the moment. She led every pitch and even hauled the bags too.
I think that, wow, I led every single one of those pitches. I hauled up my silks. I flew not only once, but had 2 little sessions up there, and we successfully got all of our gear down without any problems. And it still blows my mind. I still can't believe it.
I've climbed quite a few walls with Priscilla, and after this ascent it was quite clear she was more than ready to climb Elcap.
There she is.
Looking good. Girl, you so got this.
Dude, she led this pitch, and now she's gonna silk off this.
Dude, that's the next level, dude. Lead it and silk it.
Okay, we're going.
I'm not too sure how I found the extra energy to silk, but after waking up at the top of the nipple pitch and looking out to see Horsetail Falls flowing right beside us, this provided me the extra encouragement I needed to know that my time was now.
Right there, a little nipple.
The what?
Nipple for breakfast, bro.
Nipples for breakfast!
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah!
Oh my goodness. After bringing my silks up a single pitch and up a multi-pitch, Ryan had been very interested and stoked on rigging natural highlines, and we went up the Gunsight and established an all-natural line in the notch between Middle and Lower Cathedral Rock.
We brought exactly 60 meters of webbing to do the job, and it ended up being like perfect.
I think that is probably one of the most beautiful lines I have ever rigged. It was so cool bringing my silks out on that line. I felt like I was in a dream. It was a time when the valley was filled with smoke and the haze brought in this eerie, witchy feeling. This line is so special because not only did we establish it and was it all natural, but I was able to also bring other silk artists out onto the line for their first time. This is our homemade space net. Glad it works.
You the baddest in the village. Whoa. Got the fattest ass, can I feel it? Whoa. If you let a nigga smash, I'ma kill it. Let a young Yosemite get up in it. Bring your friend and she might get up in it. Leave your man cause he might get offended. Move out the way cause I'm coming through fast. All through the woods where we going though. Gas, running through the village in the flash. Pass, blood to the left, no grass. Up in the middle, past dark, getting smashed. Bitch, give me half dome, but I ain't mad. Hop in the 5'9", we skirt and we slide. Just call me Elcap, cause I am that guy. Find me in her big bad wolf where I puff.
3, 2, yeah, buddy. 1.
That was dope.
It's gotta be cold, and you gotta be a
Harry. That was sick, dude.
If you're a climber, you're like just the shoulder width of surface area, whereas a highline.
Give me your biggest smile, Mitch. Ah, it's a big one. It's a real big one. So bright. What's Ryan doing back there? And there's Devin.
What's that?
Oh my god! Dude, that was fucking sick!
Dude, it's gonna be so loose when I get off. Damn, this is gnarly. Just if you could if your phone works, just give me a circle.
You want this ladder? Just clip it, dude.
Get me off this thing.
He's so funny.
Yeah, buddy!
Nice.
Yosemite.